Here's Anthony and Mike with an AMI This Week shortcut.
Now, speaking of technological advances, usually when a company like Microsoft introduces a new product, you expect it to be a shiny new laptop, tablet, or maybe an upgraded version of Office. But lately, they've been focusing more on accessibility.
They've released products like the Seeing AI app that describes pictures for someone who's blind. And now they're back with the Microsoft Xbox Adaptive Controller.
This device helps players with disabilities use the controls on their Xbox, where before it would be difficult or simply not as fun. Rather than a handheld controller, this one is reimagined in many ways. It's a pad with large buttons that can rest on your lap or table. Who better than Grant Hardy to try it out?
I am with Marco Pasqua. Hey, Marco.
Hey.
Now, you, I know, are an avid gamer, which is why I know you're going to be pretty stoked about this next product we're reviewing, which is the Microsoft Xbox Adaptive Gaming Controller.
Yeah, so normally I do use the standard controller, but I will fully admit that because of my cerebral palsy, it actually does affect the dexterity in my right hand and my right wrist. So I often cheat a little bit. I'm left-handed, and often when there's functions with the left hand, I do that with the left hand, but then I do reach over with my left thumb and do some of the functions on the right-hand side with my left thumb in order to compensate. Which doesn't always work if you're in an intense like first-person shooter action and you need to use both joysticks, which is why I'm so excited to see how the adaptive controller could maybe help me in that scenario.
Well, the controller itself is quite large and has the same buttons found on a traditional Xbox gaming controller, but then you can also plug in your own switches and adaptive devices so that whether you use your head maybe or a one finger, one-handed joystick, you can still play games on your Xbox.
The cool thing about the Microsoft Adaptive Controller is they've totally flipped the script here, and they actually have it in like a rectangular shape. So the A and B buttons, which are some of the key buttons that you use while gaming, see these buttons are a little bit flattened out and they're much larger. They're soft to the touch here. Then you've got the D-pad, or the directional pad is what they call it, over on the left bottom side here, and that's a lot larger as well. I would say about 2 to 3 times the size. Makes it a lot easier for pressing and pushing, and then you've got, of course, the Xbox button. But the real secret sauce with this controller is the back here, where you can plug in adaptive switches. So Microsoft has done a really cool thing here, Grant, and at the back of the adaptive controller, they actually have all of the traditional buttons mapped out in pictograms. So what that means is essentially there's images of the traditional buttons that you would normally see on the controller laid out, not spelled out, but laid out as an image so that you can easily determine, oh, okay, I want to plug this adaptive switch into the back of the controller here, and I want to replace the Y button function. So now I've plugged an additional switch that we have here, which doesn't require a lot of dexterity or strength, and I can actually pinch it between my fingers, almost like a wired mouse for the computer.
Yeah, it's great that there's not one prescription for how to set this up. You can decide how it works best for you.
You know what I think this really comes down to, Grant, is that finally the game industry and Microsoft, they've realized their key thing is that for years gamers have had to adapt to the gaming world, but now the gaming world is adapting to the gamers. So this means that regardless of an individual's abilities, there's a controller out there that can actually meet you where you're at and have a little fun with it too.
That's very cool.